Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are jumping into a full face of Clean at Sephora makeup. None of this is sponsored. Most of this was sent to me and none of this is paid for. All of my thoughts are my own and completely authentic. I know I say that in every video, but this is not at all sponsored. I wanted to feature a bunch of clean products and I had enough to do pretty much a full face. Some of them are first impressions, some of them I've used before, but we're putting them all together today and that is all I have on my face right now. I think I'm a little shinier than I would like to be, but I have a powder I can touch that up with and that'll be fine. But we'll go into all of the details on everything on my face when we get into the video. I do also want to remind you, I will link a video up here. I have a giveaway currently going that you can go and enter. 3 massive mystery bundles are going out to someone who likes, comments, and subscribes on that video. So like that video, comment on that video, and subscribe to my channel, and you can enter to win that giveaway there. And if you want to like, comment, and subscribe with this video, you can totally do that too. Anyway, if you want to jump into a full face of Clean at Sephora products that I am actually really happy with how all of it worked out, make sure to keep on watching. So before I jump into the actual tutorial, I do just want to preface this with, there's a lot of different brands that claim to be clean, and Clean at Sephora is only one way we measure that. Some of the brands I'm using today, the example I'm going to use is Athr Beauty, one of my favorite clean brands. They are like the cleanest brand that I have worked with. There are over 4,000 ingredients that they do not use, and they're a lot cleaner than a lot of the other brands that might have a Clean at Sephora check mark. So I do just want to say, if there are ingredients you're not into, do your homework. Don't use anything that you are not comfortable using. But I will say that I'm using the Clean at Sephora seal, which I'm going to put right here, as my benchmark today of clean, because again, it's not exactly a regulated term. So, you know, clean is relative. This might be cleaner than that, but not as clean in the other one. So today we're focusing specifically on Clean at Sephora makeup. So, first item we're going to try today is going to be to prime the skin. This is from RMS Beauty. It is the Re-Evolve Radiance Locking Primer. It is a refillable packaging, so when you finish it, you can just get the refill and you don't have to get the whole thing. It is meant to be blurring and luminous. So I'm going to take about a pump and a half of that. My skin is already clean and I did apply skincare. This is meant to be a little bit of a long wear primer while adding hydration and glow to the skin. I've said this before, but most of the time, primers are really just, you know, mega charged moisturizers. So anything that adds in hydration is really going to help with things not looking cakey and crusty throughout the day. I think it does give a nice glow to the skin. I didn't do anything for pore filling, so I'm going to see if this does anything for pore filling when we go in with our foundation and everything else. For foundation today, I'm going to be going in with the Wander Beauty Nude Illusion Liquid Foundation, a weightless fluid foundation formulated for full coverage with a natural radiant finish, designed with a doe foot applicator to deliver seamless coverage wherever you wander, enriched with niacinamide to improve skin's radiance. Niacinamide also does help with pore refinement, so this might help with our pores. I'm going to take that. This is in the shade Medium, and I am going to grab a sponge, and I'm going to just dot this around. I did order this shade online, so actually I think it's a good match. I kind of guessed what color would work best for me. So I'm going to just use the doe foot to kind of preliminary spread that around the face. And then jumping into my sponge, I'm going to blend that out. So I really like that color. I was afraid it was going to be a little too warm for me, or even too dark, but I like it. So it's not immediately settling into pores, which is nice. So I am definitely optimistic that the combination of this primer with this foundation is going to work out. Jumping into the Duelist Concealer, also from Wander Beauty. This is in the shade Light. This I've used on my channel before. It is a matte cream concealer on one side and an illuminating liquid on the other. So I'm going to take the cream concealer just to lighten anywhere that I might get oily throughout the day, because that is more of a matte formula. And then switching to the other side with the liquid illuminating formula, I'm going to just add this to the areas I want to lift and illuminate, but do not want to dry out. That adds some really pretty radiance on top of this foundation. Yeah, that looks really nice. Because we're going for more of this like natural, soft looking glam today, I'm not going in with a ton of coverage. I'm really just targeting where I want the product to sit. I do have the Wander Beauty Powder Foundation. This is in the shade Tan. I always go a shade darker with powders because powders do tend to, because they're a little sheerer, I find going one shade darker tends to be a better match when you're using a tinted powder. But also, I'm not going to be using that on the full face today. I'm really going to take that after I'm done with everything, just to add coverage strategically where I want it. So I'm not going to set the whole face down right now because I have a bunch of creams that I will be using, but I am going to grab the Milk Makeup Blur and Set Finishing Powder. This is in the shade Translucent Light, and I'm just going to set down the under eye and the forehead. I know I said under eye and forehead, but really the T-zone. Switching to the other side of the fluffy brush with nothing on it, I'm just going to make sure that any of that residual powder is moved off, just so it doesn't grab to the creams. All right, so the base actually looks really good. I don't think I need a ton more coverage, a little bit right here, but depending on the color of blush, that might not be an issue. So I'm going to hold off on the powder for now, and instead I'm going to switch over to the next three products. These are from RMS Beauty. I have their cream concealer in the shade 22. I got this so that I can use it as more of a cream contour cream bronzer. I'll be following that up with the Lip to Cheek shade in Beloved, which is a really rich red. I was originally intimidated, but the shade online looked really cool. So when they asked me what color I wanted, I picked this one, and I'm going to use this on the cheek and the lip today. And then I have the Living Luminizer, which is just going to be like an all-over balm for brightness. So I'm going to use those three products, and I'm going to be doing that with my all-over It Cosmetics complexion brush, because I love the way that this applies pretty much everything. So I'm going to start with the concealer on the small brush, and I'm just going to add a small amount of this to the side of the face, and then blend it in. It's actually leaving a really pretty effect. I lost my mirror. I am going to just add a little bit more strategically where I need it. It's contouring the face. I thought I picked up a warmer shade that I thought could be like a contour bronzer, but it's not really giving me the warmth from the bronze. So I'll probably have to go in with a powder bronzer on top, but it's definitely sculpting the face, which I like. A lot of times people forget you can absolutely take a deeper concealer than your tone and use that as cream bronzer or highlight if you have an issue finding a color you like. I find that whenever I get a conventional cream bronzer or cream contour, it's always way too warm on me. So like this is structuring the face nicely without it feeling too warm, which is what I do really like. Okay, so that really did help to give some dimension to the skin. I'm going to go into the blush next, and I'm going to use the same brush. I'm just going to take a little bit on the edge. I'm not going in with too much because we can always build it up, and I'm going to add some rosiness to the cheeks. When I saw the color in the pan online, I thought that this was going to be way too rosy, too rich, and not a color that I would typically go for. But when they did the swatches on the model in the secondary image on the site, they did it on 3 models of very different complexions, and the color just looked so breathtaking, and I never go for colors this rosy, so I figured why not try it out. All right, now that that is on and I'm seeing it all together, I'm going to go into that powder foundation from Wander. And I'm going to take that on a fluffy brush. I'm actually going to use the smaller side. And I'm just going to use this because it is, like I said, a shade dark. And just to lock down the perimeters of the face where I don't have bronzer, this is also going to set down those cream products and help them to sink into the skin a little bit more. And I love how that just kind of pressed everything into the skin, melted everything in. I think it looks beautiful. Yes, we got something going on right here. We're just going to ignore that. I am going to grab a brow gel, my Milk Brow that I always use. I'm going to throw this on off camera because you've seen me do it a million times, and I'll be right back. All right, I am back, and there's quite a bit of luminosity to the cheek, but I'm still going to use the Luminizer because it's here and I want to try it out. I am going to take it on my finger and then blend it out with that same brush I was using. This is just more of like a skin gloss, so it is going to add some glow to the cheek and some nice highlight, but it's not going to be a whole lot of pigment. It's really just shine. Because we do have a lot of glow going on, I'm going to go back into the blurring and matte setting powder, take a tiny bit of this just to tone down a little bit more of that glow. I want to be glowy and hydrated and nice and reflective, but I don't want to be shiny, so I'm just going to tone that down a tiny bit. And moving on to eyes, I recently featured the Athr Beauty Moonlight palette that came in my Ipsy Glam Bag Plus. Today we're going to use the Rose Quartz palette, which is this beautiful, cool-toned, taupey, rosy mauve palette. That's what we're going to use on our eyes today. I'm going to go for something a little more rosy monochromatic because we are going to go in with that red for the lip color after. So I'm going to start with, where's the insert? I lost the insert. Going with this shade down here. I'm going to take that on a fluffy brush and just dust that all over the crease. Now, in addition to being clean like everything else we're using today, Athr is also completely sustainable, which means there's no magnets or mirrors in their packaging. All of that info is listed in the little card up there. Basically, what they say is when you add a mirror or you add in magnets to your makeup products, it becomes harder to recycle, and then it becomes harder to upcycle into the earth and all of that fun stuff. So by going in with something sustainable, you eliminate all of the metal and magnets. So when you finish this or anything, when you're done with it, you can just pull the pans out, they're aluminum, and you can recycle those, and everything else is a biodegradable cardboard. Once that is like dusted in the crease, I'm going to take quite a bit more of that and really pat that on the lower portion of the eye, and then continue to blend it up. What I love about the matte shadows from this brand is that you can really build them up and blend them out. So it's really easy to get a one color monochromatic look because you can even just use one shade. I was watching the review that Jody G did on the Moonlight palette, and she only used 2 shades on the whole eye, and it looked like she spent 6 hours blending and used like 30 different shades. The blend was so good, and she only used 2 colors. So definitely check out her review because she used a lot more of those bold colors from that first palette. You guys know I did something a little more neutral. Next, jumping into the lighter shade up here, I'm going to take that on the tip of the same brush, and I'm going to use that just to blend out the crease. That's going to give us a little bit of that gradient of tone, because when you go in with one color, it looks like it's blended out, but when I do this super cool crease, I want a tiny bit of warmth in the transition area. Not that this is a warm shade, but it is definitely a tiny bit warmer. Going into the last matte in the palette, the gray purple over here, I'm going to add that to the outer corner, whatever I was going to say, of the eye. Because you're layering like a gray purple on top of a mauvey rose, that combination is going to give you a little bit of like that darker, richer gray, just so that everything gets a little bit more smoky. Now, normally I would be super captivated by the taupey silver right here, But I'm going to go in with the more champagne rosy gold in the center, just because this is the rose gold palette, and I figure I might as well use the color I wouldn't normally go towards. I mean, it's a beautiful color, and you know it's a color I like, but I always want to go in with these silvers. But I'm going to go in with the champagne rose quartz. Tell me that's not just like a really effortless, beautiful, cool toned eye. All right, I'm going to go do this on this eye and throw on mascara. I'm not sure which one I want to use today. I have the Kosas Big Clean and the Ilia Fullest Volumizing Mascara. They're both clean. They're both really beautiful. I did a mascara video, which I will link up here if you are interested in a little bit more depth about the mascara. But I do prefer to apply it off camera because I get like real close. So I'm going to go do this on this eye, throw on some mascara, and I'll be right back. All right, I am back, and I do want to add a little bit more glow to the cheek. So I'm going to go into the Pure Diamond Dust Highlighter, also from Athr. I've used this highlighter on camera so many times, and every time I do, I'm more and more in love with it. So I'm going to take a little bit of this highlighter and just add a little bit more strategic glow to the cheek without going too intense, because this literally has diamonds in it, and it is one of the most high shine highlighter formulas that I've ever used. So I do go in pretty sparingly, and then just pat it in, and it just adds this beautiful glow everywhere. And I'm going to take that same shade, and I'm going to grab a tiny little baby brush, and I'm going to put that on the inner corner. And lastly, we're going to jump into lip. I'm going to use that same lip and cheek color from RMS that we used earlier. I am going to grab that. I'm actually going to take it on an eyeshadow brush, because I really want to like feather the color. So I'm going to take that. This is a Makeup Shack T19. I'm going to load that brush up with color. That's a very pretty color. I expected it to be more red, and it's definitely a little softer than the color in the pan. Now that I see it all together, I'm going to take a tiny bit more of that lip and cheek color and just build up a little bit more glow and rosiness to the cheeks. What I really like about this formula specifically is I've now layered it on top of powder, I've layered it on primer, I've layered it on moisturizer, and it doesn't really disrupt what's underneath. So even though I'm technically putting an oil-based cream on top of foundation and powders, it's not breaking it down at all. And I'm getting this really pretty, flushed, monochromatic cheek and lip moment. And I think it's really flattering. And because of the intensity, obviously I added way more of it to the cheek, or way more of it to the lip than I did the cheek. It's still in the same color family without getting overwhelming, which is what I really like when you go matchy-matchy with a lip and cheek. So that is the finished look. I think everything came out really nicely. I could throw on a lash and a darker lip and make this go very evening, or you can even go a little more lightweight on the eyeshadow, tone it back a little bit, and make this very breathable, everyday wearable for daytime. But there's not a single product I used today that I would not use again and don't plan on trying again. So let me know your thoughts on everything down below. This has been an entire full face of clean at Sephora makeup. I love how it turned out, and I hope you do too. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!